Good afternoon, Wealth Our Way Nation. What is going on? It is your main man, Charles Tank Harris, the founder and chief visionary officer of the financial literacy platform Wealth Our Way, where our motto is wealth is not only for the wealthy. I welcome each and every one of you to episode 90. Today we are discussing knowing and, more importantly, getting your worth. So, before we get into all that, you know what I got to do every time I come here. I want to thank each and every one of you who are here with me live as I stream across the Wealth Our Way Facebook and YouTube platforms. I also want to give the Wealth Our Way Nation salute to the Wealth Our Way Nation members who watch this program after it's been recorded overnight, over the weekend, wherever they can squeeze 15 minutes of financial literacy in. And then a heartfelt how are you to the good folks on the Life 101 platform who listen to the audio recording of this very here program. So, I tell you guys that every morning at 6 a.m. weekdays, I am on an accountability call with a bunch of brothers. We just sitting here trying to figure life out every day. They say iron sharpens iron. So we get on the call. This morning, the conversation turned to self-worth. It turned to financial worth. It's a topic that I deal with internally a great deal. And although we've addressed it before here on 15 Minutes of Finance, I thought it was worth readdressing today. And more importantly, I wanted to share with you a very, very deep poem that talks about worth. And from a standpoint of financial worth and a standpoint of your business, a standpoint of your labor, a standpoint of what you give to the world and what you get back in return for it. And because we are all about increasing our net worth here at wealthourway.com, a poem of this nature, I think, is very important for us to absorb. So I'm going to read the poem because I don't have it memorized. You'll see my eyes go down to my phone where I have the poem up. I can never get the name of this poem. I'm just going to use the first line of the poem as the name, and it's called I Bargained with Life for a Penny. The guy who wrote it, his name is Jesse B. Rittenhouse, and he lived from like 18 something to the early 1900s. So this is a very, very old poem from a very, very old guy. But what he said almost 200 years ago rings true today. So hear me out when I read this to you. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. It gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have happily paid. That's deep. Now you got to absorb that on many, many levels. That poem speaks to the very heart of things that I experience every day. I run a business. I set my prices. I tell clients, and the prices differ based on the level of work I am doing for a client. I have heard from other professionals a saying, don't price the job, price the client. Now, whereas I have a great deal of respect for one of the people in particular who uses that mindset, I don't like that mindset. I don't think a price should change based on the person I'm doing the job for. The price should, for me, be based on the amount of work that I'm doing and what I value myself at. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs, or even those of you who have salaries, because here's the deal. My oldest daughter, who I reference a great bit, I love her. She's of a great entrepreneurial mindset. I would love her even if she wasn't. She's my oldest daughter. But she always, I admire how she stands up for her worth. She recently quit her job because she was asked to do more than she was being paid to do. And the people at her job hit her with all of the psychological warfare of, oh, be a team player, do this, do that. The reality is there is such a thing as being a team player, and then there is such a thing as being taken advantage of. Only you know what you will set as your worth. I'll give you another example. I have a client that I do a lot of work for. Probably would say they're the client I do the most work for. And they are charged off of the Wealth Our Way chart list. They pay a higher fee than any of my clients. Yet, I charge them a lot less than I feel as though the work that I do is worth. Partly because I have my reasons, and I'll share it with you on this episode about pricing and being beholden to people, a lesson that I learned when I worked with professional athletes. But the other reason is that I do struggle with charging high prices that I see as high for people. However, the same client, because I am deeply involved in all their financial affairs, I saw that they were paying another consultant almost 4 times what they were paying me. And this other consultant, although he was in a different line of work than me, I knew the level of work that he did was a third of what I do. So now this goes right to the heart of the poem, basically the last line of the poem, that life would have gladly paid what I asked. I confronted my client on it, kind of half jokingly. I said, you pay this cat, blah, 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 and he doesn't do a third of what I do. Yet you pay me this, and I keep your businesses going. And his response to me was, that's what you asked me for. And I had to sit in that. I had to understand that, wow, he didn't say, I would have paid you more or I'd have paid you less. He said, I paid you what you asked for. And that really let me know that I have to determine what my worth is and be comfortable asking for that level of pay. I know it is a difficult process. This is what we were talking about this morning. I grew up in a very impoverished background. I grew up on public assistance. I was born to a mother that had 3 male sons before she turned 21 years of age. I grew up on food stamps. I went to school on Pell Grants. I lived near the projects. When I was born, my mother resided in the housing projects. As a result, it has been a very eye-opening journey for me to get comfortable going from an impoverished level of economics to a wealth level of economics. There are often times, which is why I love my life so much, when I spend the night at the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons, or I get out of a car service, or I walk into a 80-floor skyscraper, I am blown away. Even at age 51, even though I have been living like this for half my life almost, I've been in this business for 24 plus years, it'll be 25 years next month, I am still humbled by the things I get to experience. I am humbled being at 5-star restaurants. I am humbled when I get into exorbitant, opulent scenarios. As a result of that, sometimes I question whether I deserve what I am experiencing. And I think I've shared this before with you guys. I was at a meeting in New York, and a guy pulled me to the side. As I'm saying it, I know I shared it with you. And he said to me, Tank, you're never going to be as successful as you are destined to be until you recognize that you deserve this. And I didn't understand how this guy who barely knew me, we had met 3 days prior, how he could look into me and see that I struggle with my own sense of worth. So the episode today is called Knowing Your Worth, and more importantly, getting your worth. Where do we start with that? The first thing we do is we have to set a baseline for what we are comfortable with. Once we get that baseline, one of the things I've always heard is that success lies outside of your comfort zone. So once you set the baseline of what you are comfortable with, you then know you're not asking for enough. I ask for fees that I am comfortable with. I am shocked when people tell me they don't want to pay my fee. I think my fees are extremely reasonable. The reality is, and the same guy who coaches me on branding and things of that nature, I started a new package. You guys will hear about it in 2022 that I'm offering, the Financial Wealth Jumpstart. And I told him what the package was. I told him that I was simply telling a guy that I went to college with about the package, and he wanted to buy it right then, and the package didn't even exist. So I had to literally speed up and make the package for this guy. When I told the coach how much I charged for the package, he sucked his teeth at me. Like if we weren't virtual, I might have slapped this cat, because he sucked his teeth at me as if he was just disgusted with me. He said, Tank, when are you going to start charging what you're worth? He said, that fee for everything you're offering is ridiculous. You should be charging 5 times that for that. The first thing I thought was, my branding coach, grew up a little bit better than me financially, lives a little bit better than me financially now, I would argue. And I said, you don't understand my people. You don't understand the people I'm speaking to. You don't understand my target audience. They will not be comfortable paying 5 times this amount. And he said, how do you know if you don't tell them that's what the price is? He said, the fact that you were having a conversation with someone and you said a price, and before you could finish saying the price or describing the package, they said, I'll take it. That means your price is too low. And I had to sit and accept that. I had to get comfortable with that, because the first sale that we all have to make is to ourselves. If we don't believe we are worth it, how will anyone else ever believe we are worth it? We have to put ourselves in a position. You know, he said to me, Tank, I've been working with you now for 3 months. You're one of the smartest guys I've ever met. You're brilliant in the field of finances. You're charismatic. You're articulate. He said, but your prices would make me, if I knew nothing else about you, they would make me ignore you. They would make me not take on your services, because I see myself as a certain way. I wouldn't want your brand because your brand looks cheap to me. The prices are too low. Your knowledge that you have is too accessible to people. This is why I've come to you guys and talked to you about changing the format of 15 Minutes of Finance. He says, hey, if I could get everything that you know and feel about finances for free every day, why would I pay you any amount of money, even if it was $2? Now, don't panic, don't fear. I have a calling on my life to provide financial literacy across the airways to anyone who is willing to listen. So a format like this one is never going to go away. I will always have a pro bono, so to speak, forum of people for people who want financial literacy. But his point was not missed on me. I have to set my value. You have to set your value. Whether it's at your job, you need to go to your employer and negotiate your worth. We are seeing in this country right now a shortage of all workers across fields. My wife is in education. We were talking about it this morning. She said they are paying people to drive buses. They are paying $100 a day or $200 a day for substitute teachers. They've lowered the criteria where now you only have to have 30 credits to be a substitute teacher. $200 a day, 5 days a week is $1,000 a week, 50 weeks a year, or I guess you don't teach all year, but my point is it's a $50,000, $52,000 a year job. If you got 30 college credits, that's something that was unheard of. When I graduated from college with a full degree and wanted to work full time, I got paid $30,000 with overtime. So things have changed. You have to be comfortable asking for more. And all someone can ever tell you is no. I mean, I guess they could punch you in the mouth, but I don't get punched in the mouth. I'm 6'4", 400 pounds. You might get punched in the mouth. So, don't ask too aggressively, but all you can do is ask and be told no. So with that, I will say today's episode is not just about finances. It's about mindset. You have to determine what your worth is, and then you have to be willing to go get it. And that exceeds a financial forum. That's in relationships. That's in siblings. That's in any area that you're in and whoever you deal with. You have to set the price for your time, your efforts, your talents, your heart, and make sure you stand in that feeling, in that knowledge that you are worth it, and get your worth. With that being said, please don't ignore the chat boxes. We started a new informational form. It's being put in the chats. Please click on that. Send the information in. It'll help us shape content towards your needs and solve any issues that you may have, any problems or questions that you may have. It'll help us better address them. We're trying to get a little more streamlined here at Wealth Our Way and 15 Minutes of Finance. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I want you to have the greatest of Wednesdays. And remember, please remember, wealth is not only for the wealthy. Have a great day.